My father-in-law, Robert, raised his glass at my award ceremony, his voice booming across the hall. To my son-in-law, Liam, he declared, but his smile was a blade. Who builds pretty glass boxes? He punctuated the insult by lurching forward, accidentally, spilling a full glass of red wine across my prized presentation board. My heart stopped. That board, showcasing a year of my life's work, was ruined. In that split second, I didn't reach for a napkin. I grabbed a seltzer bottle from a nearby table, tripped over a chair leg, and sent a powerful, targeted stream directly onto my mother-in-law Eleanor's pristine, cream-colored channel suit. Gasps erupted, but they were for her. Eleanor shrieked as the dark fabric of her blouse beneath the jacket turned transparent, her immaculate facade dissolving in front of 200 of the city's elite. My shock at his audacity was instantly replaced by a cold, calculating clarity. This was no accident. I saw the deliberate malice in his eyes just before the stumble, a glint of triumph. But standing there, amidst the chaos of a ruined suit and a ruined drawing, I simply maintained a look of feigned panic and concern for Eleanor. Inside, a foundation had cracked. I knew this was a declaration of war. The signs had always been there, subtle hairline fractures in the family structure. For years, Robert, a brash real estate developer who measured success in square footage and profit margins, had belittled my profession. At family dinners, he'd ask, "Still drawing your little pictures?" Liam, a smirk playing on his lips. Eleanor was more insidious. She'd praise my work with one breath, and with the next, ask Chloe when I planned on getting a real job with her father. Then there was the time they'd forgotten to invite me to a family portrait session, only for me to see the perfect, Liam-less photo on their mantelpiece a week later. The sabotage at the awards ceremony wasn't an isolated event, it was the culmination. I'd noticed Robert's strange insistence on sitting near the drink station earlier. I also saw Eleanor whisper something in his ear moments before his toast, her eyes darting towards my presentation board with a predatory gleam. They had planned this public humiliation together. I met Chloe 7 years ago in the hushed halls of our university's architecture library. I was sketching a complex facade, and she was studying urban planning, her mind alight with creating communities, not just buildings. We bonded over shared passions for structure, design, and creating something lasting. Our connection was immediate and profound. Marrying her felt like completing a blueprint for my life. Our first few years were idyllic. We renovated a small mid-century house, our hands covered in paint and our hearts full. We were a team, building our own world. But my world and her parents were built on different bedrock. I came from a family of academics and engineers, people who valued knowledge and integrity. The Vances valued influence and assets. To them, my profession as an architect was a quaint hobby, not a source of legitimate success. Robert couldn't grasp a business model not built on ruthless acquisition. He saw me as a flaw in his dynastic blueprint. We lived a quiet, comfortable life, but in their eyes, it was a constant failure to launch. My biggest projects, my published works, even my teaching position at the local university, it all registered as small time to them. Their interference escalated after our wedding. It was systematic. First, they tried to sow financial discord, offering Chloe a family loan to buy a larger house, a clear jab at my income. When we politely declined, they started a campaign of social isolation, arranging couples events and conveniently forgetting to tell us until the last minute. The worst was when Chloe was up for a major promotion. I overheard Eleanor telling her, "Darling, a career is wonderful, but with a husband in such an unstable field, perhaps you should focus on your family duties for now." They weren't just attacking me, they were trying to clip Chloe's wings, to pull her back into their orbit. The wine incident wasn't just an attack on my career, it was their final, desperate attempt to prove I was unworthy of their daughter, an unstable element in her life. The next day, the cold anger hadn't subsided. It had crystallized into a plan. I needed to prove Robert's actions were intentional. An architect's greatest tool isn't a pencil, it's the ability to see and analyze structure, to deconstruct an event to its core components. I treated the ballroom like a site for forensic analysis. I got the security footage from the venue manager. It wasn't just a video, it was data. I imported the relevant clips and a PDF of the ballroom's floor plan into my architectural design software. Using the software, I created a 3D model of the scene. I plotted Robert's exact position, my board's location, and the trajectory of his movement frame by frame. I ran a physics simulation. A genuine stumble has a specific center of gravity shift, a chaotic arc. Robert's movement was a straight line, a controlled lunge. The angle of the wine spill was too perfect, maximizing damage across the most detailed parts of my drawing. I created digital renderings of the event, showing with mathematical certainty that his actions were deliberate. Then, I dug deeper. A quick chat with the catering manager confirmed my suspicion Robert had specifically requested to be moved to that table, citing a better view. A lie. His original seat had a perfect view of the stage. He wanted proximity to the ammunition, a small but crucial crack in his story. I needed an ally within their camp. I called Mark, Chloe's younger brother. He'd always been the gentle soul in a family of sharks, perpetually in his father's shadow. We met for a beer. I didn't show him the emotional footage. I showed him the data. The 3D models, the trajectory analysis, the cold, hard geometry of the attack. He stared at the screen, his face pale. My God, he whispered. It's so engineered. He was shaken, but seeing the logic, the undeniable proof, broke through years of his father's emotional manipulation. He's done things like this before, Liam, Mark admitted, his voice low. Years ago, a business partner was about to outbid him on a huge property deal. The night before the auction, Dad accidentally spilled coffee all over the guy's final bid documents during a meeting. The guy missed the deadline. Dad got the property. It was the keystone piece of evidence I needed, a documented pattern of behavior. This wasn't just a personal attack, it was a strategy. My core evidence was now a three-legged stool, unshakable. The 3D analysis of the act, the premeditation of the seating change, and Mark's testimony establishing a history. I knew I couldn't just storm into their house and scream accusations. That was their game. I had to build a case, present it flawlessly, and let the structural integrity of the truth dismantle their world. My first move was to secure my primary support structure, my wife. I knew confronting Chloe would be the most delicate phase of this project. She loved her parents, despite their flaws. I couldn't just demolish her reality. I had to guide her through the wreckage. I waited until a quiet Sunday evening. Chloe, I started. I need to show you something about the awards night. I need you to watch with an open mind. I played the raw security footage first, without commentary. She watched, her brow furrowed. It was a clumsy accident, Liam, she said, a plea in her voice. Then, I opened the CAD file. Let me show you the geometry of the accident, I said calmly. I walked her through my analysis, showing her the vectors, the simulated falls, the calculated intent. Her expression shifted from defense to confusion, then to dawning horror. I didn't push. I just laid out the blueprint of the betrayal. I told her what Mark had said about the coffee incident. That night, she didn't sleep much. She was processing the fact that the foundations of her family were built on lies. By morning, she looked at me, her eyes filled with tears but also a new, steely resolve. They've gone too far, she said. What do we do? My partner was with me. The foundation was secure. We now had a complete, undeniable case. My architectural renderings, Mark's corroborating story, the catering manager's statement, and most importantly, Chloe's support. I spent a day assembling it all into a single, seamless presentation. It was a digital dossier of their deceit, mapping their long history of manipulation, from petty social snubs to outright sabotage. The final piece was a new discovery. While digging into Robert's old business deals to verify Mark's story, I stumbled upon public records for the land my award-winning building now stood on. The second, highest bidder, who had mysteriously dropped out at the last second, was a shell corporation. A corporation that I traced back to Robert Vance. He hadn't just tried to humiliate me for my success. He'd tried to secretly profit from it, and failing that, chose to destroy it publicly. This was the final nail. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about liberating Chloe from a lifetime of control. We called a family meeting at their house. Just us, Mark, his wife Sarah, and the Vances. The air was thick with tension. Robert was in his throne, like leather chair, exuding smug confidence. Eleanor was fluttering around, offering drinks, trying to control the atmosphere. Robert, Eleanor. I began connecting my laptop to their large, screen TV. We're here to review the structural analysis of a recent family event. Robert scoffed. If this is about the wine, Liam, it was an accident. Get over it. An accident has a certain randomness to it. I replied, clicking the first slide. This, however, was designed. I played the raw footage. They denied it. I showed the seating charts. They feigned ignorance. Eleanor started in on me, her voice sharp. You're just trying to drive a wedge between us. You've always been paranoid and overly sensitive. Then, I brought up the 3D model. The room fell silent as I rotated the digital figures, showing the impossible physics of the accident. I overlaid it with a simulation of a real stumble. The two animations were night and day. Robert's face hardened. I presented the land deal records, showing his failed attempt to buy the property. You couldn't own my building, Robert, so you tried to tarnish it, I said, my voice level. Robert's denial was losing steam, becoming blustering and desperate. This is insane! You've fabricated all of this? That was Mark's cue. He's not lying, Dad, Mark said, his voice shaking but clear. He did it to Mr. Abernathy. With the coffee. I was there. The color drained from Eleanor's face. Robert stared at his son, utterly betrayed. The united front of the Vance family had just been demolished by a load, bearing truth. The truth, once revealed, sent shockwaves through the room. Chloe, seeing her parents' lies utterly exposed, finally unleashed a lifetime of suppressed feelings. She confronted them not just about me, but about their constant manipulation, the way they'd belittled her choices, and their suffocating control. For the first time, Robert and Eleanor had no answer. Their power, built on a foundation of deceit, had crumbled. In the end, it was a total collapse. Their denial ceased, replaced by a stunned, hollow silence. I laid out our terms. It wasn't a negotiation, it was a final punch list. First, a written, public apology to me and the Architectural Guild for his behavior, which would be published in the Guild's newsletter. Second, they would seek family counseling. Third, and most importantly, a new set of boundaries. All communication would be on our terms. No more surprise visits, no more financial offers, no more manipulative advice. A week later, Robert's apology was published. It was terse, but it was public. It was a concession. Forcing him to do it wasn't about revenge. It was about establishing a new power dynamic, based on truth, not his perception of strength. The apology was a form of architectural salvage, tearing down the rotten part to save the rest of the structure. Over the next year, Chloe and I rebuilt. Our marriage, having weathered this seismic event, was stronger than ever. We fortified it with honesty and mutual trust. Our interactions with her parents became formal and infrequent, dictated by our new rules. They were civil, but the old dynamic of control was gone, replaced by a grudging, resentful respect. The true victory came in an unexpected way. I was meeting with a potential client, a major investor from out of state. You know, he said, looking over my portfolio. It was Robert Vance who recommended I call you. Said you were the sharpest damn architect in the state and didn't bend for anyone. It wasn't an olive branch from Robert. It was an admission of defeat, translated into the only language he understood, a business referral. It was a sign that he now accepted the new structure of our family. One evening, Chloe and I were sitting on our porch, watching our daughter, a new, beautiful addition to our life, sleep soundly in her stroller. I looked at our home, at the life we had designed and built for ourselves. I hadn't won by tearing their family down. I'd won by reinforcing my own. I refused to let their flawed design compromise my own structure. The ultimate success wasn't in their defeat, but in living well, on our own terms, in the beautiful, strong house we had built together.